Aharyavad Nityavinishaloham Ambodhivad Paravivarjidoham. Like the endless seas, I am boundless. I have no shore at all. Paravivarjidoham. What do you think of it? This is the supreme truth. Sreemad Bhagavatam, Vedavyasa Maharshi, Shuka Maharshi, and also Swami Bhoomananda Tirtha, they want you to contemplate upon. This is the supreme truth. Satyam Param Dhimahi. So understand, spiritually you are not deficient. You are not short. You are not narrow. You are not constricted. You have an infinite dimension, expanse, majesty, loftiness and magnificence. Now we shall take up the second verse. It is not that I am going to take up all the verses either from the beginning or from the first chapter. I only want my viewers to understand what Srimad Bhagavatam purports to convey. So the first verse, with a lot of profundity, I have already explained to some extent, not fully. The second verse is even more relevant and you can relate it to you more easily. Dharma projhita kaidavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmoolanam. Sreemad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parairishvaraha Sadyo hridyavaruddhyate tra kritibihi Shushrusubhistakshanad. Sadyo hridyavaruddhyate tra kritibihi Shushrusubhistakshanad. What a beautiful statement is this. The author himself reveals what he is going to discuss and ultimately show to you. Dharmaha projhita kaidavotra paramaha. In this text called Srimad Bhagavatam, I am discussing dharma without any kind of semblance of delicacy. No reservation at all, no fear, no doubt, no inhibition. I will simply speak about dharma. What does dharma mean? Dharanad dharma ityahuhu dharmo dharayati prajaha. In the matter of understanding and pursuing dharma, none of you has an option. As I spoke about value, dharma is also in reality a value-oriented life, a value-enriched life, a value-empowered life. The dharma is defined in our language in Sanskrit in this manner. Dharanad dharma ityahuhu. Because of its power and process of sustaining life, it is called dharma. That sustaining, that word is used, dharana. Something you are doing dharana of. It is just like a baby in the arms of the mother. The baby does nothing there. It simply remains where it is. It is for the mother to protect, preserve, tend and ensure that it is all right and safe. In the same manner, it is the power of dharma, the process of dharma to sustain your life. Sustain your life means what? While living, we will have a number of ups and downs. We will have favor and disfavor, prosperity and adversity, poverty and riches, likes and dislikes. So many will be there. While coursing our life through all these things, we should not get lost at any point of time. We should not become timid. We should not become fearful. We should not become doubtful. We should not become intimidated. A feeling of victimization. Nothing should affect our mind. We should be able to live a very beautiful, peaceful, sustaining life. Now what will sustain you? The possessions of the world, they always remain separate from your body. No physical possession physically enters your system and remains there. It never happens. So what is happening to you is that you feel these things belong to me. It is a feeling generated by the mind and you cherish it. You are joyous about it. So ultimately it is your mind that delights you, nothing else. So dharma is such an inward force by virtue of which your life will be sustained in all possible conditions and onslaughts. Dharma projhita kaidavotra paramo. That dharma, without any sense of delicacy, inhibition, restraint or reservation, I am going to disclose here. And you will find Sreemad Bhagavatam discloses it very openly. It is just like peeling the skin and showing the kernel completely. Dharma projhita kaidavotra paramaha nirmatsaranam sadam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tabatrayonmulanam. By delineating and describing dharma, what do I propose to do for the readers and the listeners, for the viewers? Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam. We are living in a world where everything is perishable, including our body. And perishability indicates that things are not real. The real will never change. There is no question of it perishing. So perishability means unreality. Now if the whole world is unreal, how does it continue? So it must have some real background or real substratum. Where is that substratum? Can I get to know of it? If the perishable world will not be able to give you everlasting peace and contentment, then let me know about what is the substratum which is real and eternal, so that I will have lasting contentment and lasting fulfillment. Such an inquiry cannot be avoided. So I am, through the Srimad Bhagavatam narrations, chapter after chapter, section after section, skandha after skandha, I am revealing one truth. Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam. In Srimad Bhagavata is to be known. My dear viewers, will you mark my words? In the Srimad Bhagavata exposition, while reading it, listening to it, by thinking about it, what you have to do is, you have to know. Know what? Vastavam, whatever is the truth. The whole world is illusory, I said, changeful, I said, transitory and transient, fleeting. But the fleeting world can never be unless it is supported by an unfleeting substratum. That is called Vastava. It is there in your personality because you are fleeting. It is there in the world because the world is fleeting. So that unfleeting presence is constantly revealed here in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shivadam. I would like you to remember this expression. Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam. The word Shivada means that which bestows upon you Shiva. Shiva means auspiciousness. This is actually a description, an epithet of the soul in you. And what is the soul? That itself is God also. So here in this Srimad Bhagavatam, the reader, the listener, the viewer has to know the Shivada truth. Why it becomes Shivada? Because every object in this world, including your own parents, brothers, sisters, wife or husband, then children, friends, well-wishers, all of them. Similarly, pet animals, the Panchabhutas and their products, all of them will give you either pleasure or pain. We would like to call it Sukha Dukkha Daha. They will give you happiness and misery. Anything that you think of in this world, suppose the heaven, it gives you happiness. What about hell? It gives you misery. So everything in this world is productive of either happiness or misery, one after the other. Now Shivada is that which will give you only auspiciousness. Neither the alternates of Sukha or Dukkha. The alternate of Sukha or Dukkha, no. It will give you something beyond, which will never alternate, which will never decay, and which will never become extinct. So it will give you what we call the transcendental bliss. So in this Sreemad Bhagavatam, I am constantly revealing, discussing, describing and showing to you what is the supreme truth from out of which you will always get auspiciousness. And what is this auspiciousness? How do you get it? What does Srimad Bhagavatam do? What is the magic? Tapatrayonmulanam. By redressing and removing the threefold misery or unhappiness which life in this world is bound to give on everyone. Bound to give to everyone. Everyone. What is meant by Tapatraya? Threefold misery, I said. What is this threefold misery? We call it Adhyatmika Dukkha, Adhidevika Dukkha and Adhibhaudika Dukkha. There are three kinds of misery. What is this Adhyatmik misery? Adhyatmik misery or unhappiness is the one which your own body, mind, intelligence creates. What is the unhappiness the body creates? Various kinds of disorders, diseases and the like. There are retarded children. Sometimes we contract infections, some of which are incurable or very difficult to cure. So various kinds of misery the body embodiment imposes on us. That is for the medicinal science to discuss and deal with. Now there are similarly miseries and torments caused by the mind, caused by the intelligence. Swamiji, what do you mean by that? Yes. Most of you or all of you will report to me, Swamiji, my mind is not peaceful. Why? Your body may not be peaceful, I agree. There may be imbalances, disharmonies, diseases, infections and the like. But why should your mind be infected? Are you not the custodian of your mind? Can you not handle it and refine it in a manner? Then it will always remain peaceful. It should be. See, suppose we are injured physically. There is a scar left by the injury. A similar injury, if it happens to the mind, there will be no scar. It is just like cutting water or drawing in water or drawing in air. It just closes up. In the same manner, our mind is a sentient presence. It is very subtle. And no injury or hurt can be caused to it. As I chanted in Viveka Chudamani, the verse, Akasha vallepa vidura goham. Like Akasha, I am without any lepa, without any affectation, he says. So all the affectations and scars in the mind can be completely relieved and cured. Not like the body, it will never remain. But why is it that you are not able to do it? Only because of your narrowness of the mind. So Adhyatmic sufferings are those caused by the mind and the intelligence. Whenever I speak about it, I am always reminded of King Dasharatha, a very elderly person. You know, King Dasharatha was a righteous ruler of Dwaraka. During his time, Ayodhya was very prosperous. Valmiki Maharshi particularly speaks about how effective the spying system in Ayodhya was during the time of Ayodhya. During the time of Dasharatha. I think it is worth remembering, not only remembering, I think all our ministers should take the trouble of reading Ramayana. I know only about Valmiki Ramayana, that is the original one written, and all the others are following them adaptations in various languages. Now this original Ramayana should be read and understood, how the ministers were behaving, how the king himself was, and how sensitive they were to the needs and demands of the people. It was something very important. Even now we will do well if we can read all these things and understand. I think our ministerial functions will be much better, provided we can be inspired and enthused by what we hear about Dasharatha's times. Why I said this? He was a very great king, glorious king, with a lot of mastery over himself. Otherwise he would not have administered the kingdom so very well. Now this Dasharatha, matters drifted in such a manner that he had decided to crown Sri Rama as the Yuvaraja after consulting the people in a convened assembly and taking their opinion. This is how he did it. When he decided to crown Sri Rama, the news was broken to Kaikeyi by Manthara, and Manthara and Kaikeyi hatched a plot. And ultimately it became not the coronation of Sri Rama, but on the other hand, a departure for a 14-year exile in the forest by Rama. When everything was set ready and Rama, Lakshmana and Sita got into the chariot and Sumantra was driving the chariot. The chariot was about to leave the front of the palace. Dasharatha somehow, in extreme agony, rolled over there, and when Sumantra was to drive them off, Dasharatha, as the king, said, "Sumantra, stop." Rama from inside the chariot said, "Sumantra Deva, don't stop, speed on." I think Valmiki presents one of the most enigmatic confrontations one can ever have in the human life. Sumantra did not know for a moment what to do. The great king asked him to stop, and the unquestionable prince asked him to drive on. What shall he do? What would he do? There was a doubt. Then Sri Rama immensely followed his statement, speed on, and then he added, if father asks you, why did you not stop? Tell him that I did not hear you. Why? This is how I say that every statement of dharma in our scriptures and scriptural narrations is authenticated by reason and rationality. So Sri Rama adds, Sumantra Deva, understand, no situation which is afflicting or tormenting should be allowed to linger on. So let us leave the scene and get away from palace as soon as possible. Let us go away from the vision of our father. Now this was the reason provided, and the chariot sped on. There was no further delay. Dasharatha was agonized, immensely tormented. He could not control his spirits. So he started calling out Rama in distress. Rama, Rama, oh Rama. And he became speechless and breathless. Now I am picturing this scene to make you understand what is this adhyatmic suffering. Suffering caused by one's own personality. About the bodily level and diseases I told you, here is a typical situation where the emotional mind of man, in spite of the rational intelligence he is gifted with, is unable to tolerate a situation, and it drives the possessor of the mind into veritably a death. This is what we are seeing here. Now, this is called adhyatmic suffering. I would like to ask Dasharatha even today, my dear king, where was the necessity for you to get so much agonized that you died, virtually abandoned your life forces? Was it necessary? In the birth of Rama, did you play the greater role, or Kausalya played the greater role? She actually bore Rama in her womb for at least 9 months, and thereafter she delivered him. She looked after him right from the baby stage, right from the time of birth. And how much of attachment and pangs of separation, if at all, she should have been put to? In spite of it, Kausalya was consoled after a short time dialogue with her beautiful son. Finally she said, my dear son, I don't expect anything else from you. Your course is righteous, your mind is righteous, your decision is very righteous. So go. I shall be here to greet you back when you come after 14 years, she said. The same statement Dasharatha also could have made. Actually, Rama did what no other son possibly would have done, would even now do. I generally narrate this story whenever I have to speak to children or even elderly people. On 2 occasions very recently, once when I was to the United States recently, in the month of May last, we had been to United States. I was addressing a group of children. I was narrating this story and I asked them, why is this story presented? Not to read and get amused by the narration. That is not the purpose. The story is to make every one of you think. Every one of you understand the potential and the possibilities the mind within our body holds for everyone. So after narrating this story, I asked the children, when Kaikeyi told Rama, you should go to the forest for 14 years, without a second thought, Rama said, I will have left the palace before the sun sets today. My dear children, what will you say? Many of them said, we will not say that. But one of them got up to say, Swamiji, I will say the same thing, I will leave. On 2 occasions, children told me in this manner. So this is to make you understand how much potent the human mind is and what extent of resolution, preparedness, readiness, etc. to abandon anything if abandonment is called for, to accept anything when acceptance is called for, the mind is capable of. So there was no occasion or no reason for Dasharatha to die at all. As a matter of fact, his son did something very great. For whatever he has done alone, he is even today honored. Millions and trillions of people in the world are honoring him. A number of people adore him. Some of them have constructed temples and shrines for him. Some are reading Ramayana in order to follow at least a digital percentage of whatever he has done, that Maryada Purushottamatva which he has. Thus, such being the case, should the father delight and rejoice over what the son did, or he must breathe his last? I think our mind can work havoc. Understand that it is so and safeguard against any such evil or wrong possibilities. Understand that the mind carries the same Sankalpa Shakti, the same resoluteness which God the Creator had, has and always will have. As a matter of fact, we have a statement. What is that? The Jiva, the life element in the human body, is a part of the infinite God. A part of the infinite God. What does it mean? A spark of fire is exactly hot and brilliant as the blazing fire. So if God has an infinite measure of infinite potential, we must at least have a finite measure of that infinite potential. Be assured of this. So any decision you are capable of taking at any time, make sure that you take the right decision at the right time. This is so far as Adhyatmic sufferings are concerned. I can tell you another story. I don't know whether you will be interested in. This is, the one I told you is a story from the epic Ramayana. Another is soon after partition this happened. Our country was divided. Some portions went to Pakistan and some portions perhaps came over to India also. And after the partition, a particular Maharaja, I don't know the details of that person, even if I say it won't be all right. Now, he lost his kingdom and he was given a beautiful travel from the Pakistan border, from that area to Sealdah railway station in Kolkata. Now he and his wife got into the compartment. Those days it was first class, an intermediate class was there, interclass and a third class. So he was put perhaps in a first class, a particular section, not a full bogie, a particular compartment. He and his wife were seated there. Some police guards, security personnel also were there. They started traveling and traveling. When the Pakistan border was left and they came over to India, people started getting into the bogie and the compartment and there was a little confusion, etc. So some people said, don't go there, he was the Maharaja of such and such a place. No, the hearer said, Maharaja, he was. Not that he is a Maharaja now, he was, he is not. This Maharaja heard the remark. After hearing, he said, I was a Maharaja, but I am not now. I was. I am not. I am not. When the train reached Sealdah, it was the dead body of the Maharaja that was removed from the compartment. What do you say about it? Our mind, by reacting to a situation in a very harmful, deleterious and extremely dangerous manner, our intelligence not being able to apply the rational sense and the rational instruction to the mind and sublimate its functioning, I think there can be any crisis, including death. These are the two instances which I have to tell you about Adhyatmic suffering. So far as the other sufferings are concerned, we have something called Iti Badha. In Sanskrit it is called. These are the calamities brought about by the elements themselves, nature's elements. For example, the earth quakes. Suddenly, sometimes a river overflows, it becomes in spate. This is one point. Then there are cyclones, hurricanes, etc. There are very huge bores which the sea produces. There are sometimes lightning and thunder. Fire incidents are there. All these are natural calamities called idibadhas. There will be pests, various kinds of assault on agriculture and different crops. All these are possible. Then these are called adi-bhautik sufferings. Adi-daivik sufferings are those which are providentially taking place. We cannot exactly say. By virtue of a providential development, we are put into different situations. Now, these are the threefold suffering that every human being is definitely meant to face. Mark this expression which I am saying. Human life, however rich, however great, however glorious and prosperous it may be, it is always subject to a threefold suffering. Adhyatmic, Adhidaivik and Adhibhautik suffering. Is there any redress for it? Sreemad Bhagavatam says, I am the redress. Sreemad Bhagavatam itself is the redress. The entire scripture or narration is made only for the purpose of obliterating, wiping and redressing the impact of the threefold suffering which worldly life produces from time to time. Tapatrayo unmoolanam is the word used by the text. Unmoolana means uproot, completely eradicate. Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayo unmoolanam. The Vastava, the supreme truth, discussed and revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam, has such a beautiful potential and majesty and magnificence that by its impact, by that knowledge, all the threefold suffering will be eliminated. Where are you suffering? Are you suffering in the body? We are not referring to the bodily sufferings called diseases. We are referring to the tension, agitation, a sense of agony, a sense of loss, a sense of affectation in one manner or the other, which the mind produces and often preserves. It lingers on for a while. Say a bereavement that a person is put to. Sometimes he remembers it throughout his life and he is not able to dissolve it or obliterate it. Now, any impact is ultimately in the mind. As I said earlier, the only agency or tool which can act upon the human mind is the rational intelligence. So the intelligence will have to receive the knowledge imparted by Srimad Bhagavatam. After receiving the knowledge, it will have to affect and influence the mind. Bring about an emotional stability, an emotional harmony, an emotional balance, an emotional sustenance in the mind. Not that we are eaten up and devoured by our emotions. Emotion is always good. It is very good, very energizing. But but all the emotions should be properly sublimated. Then only they become good. This is what we have to understand.